Hello, high school students. It's Mr. Kramer again with another 1-point perspective lesson for you. I call this my challenge number 4. Today we are going to be taking some of the forms that we've already created, and then we're going to change these forms into different objects. So we can do this by stacking forms together. We can blend forms together, and we can assemble forms in certain ways that we can kind of build other things. So that's kind of what the concept of today is. It's going to be taking these forms and turning them into other things. So kind of been thinking about this project a little bit, and one thing that I thought that I could do, that I could work with you guys, and I think would be a good intro object, would be a great big hammer. I was thinking Thor's hammer. So if you think about Thor's hammer, if you had to think of two main forms that thing was that was made up of, you would probably think of a big rectangular form and then kind of like a rod. So this is kind of like a combination of two of our lessons where, you know, when we made rectangular forms, and then maybe like kind of similar to that 1-point perspective pencil project where, you know, the hammer was laying down, or the pencil was lying down and going back towards a distance. So today what we're going to do is we're going to create Thor's hammer, like I said, and we're going to create it in 1-point perspective, and we're going to create it in two pieces. We're going to do kind of a rectangular form, and then we're going to do a big rod, essentially. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start by drawing the rectangular form for Thor's hammer. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to draw a nice big rectangle. Now Thor's hammer is really big, so especially the head of the hammer, so make sure this rectangle is big. Alright, so there's kind of like the top of his hammer, and if you could imagine, like, you know, this is where you know, you might see the top of the handle, where, you know, I guess it goes all the way through the hammer, and then that rod will go all the way down towards the vanishing point. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a few lines here. Notice my ruler is not quite as long as it needs to be, so you might run into that situation. If you do, just do your best to line it up. And then there's another line. Remember, we just want to connect the corners. You take the ruler, connect the corner to the vanishing point, draw a little line there, and that pro tip that I've talked about, we don't need to go all the way to the vanishing point, not if we know that we're going to end this form at some point. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to draw the top edge of the back part of my hammer, then the back side edge here. You can start to see we've got a nice little rectangular form going on here. Now, a little product highlight here. This is a stick eraser, and I used to buy them at the art store, but now I get them on Amazon, and these are just great little tools to have in your art kit. If you're ever working on projects like this where the angles are really tight, you know, a big clunky pink eraser, you might end up doing more harm than good when you erase. So, you know, having one of these types of erasers in your arsenal is always a good thing to have. That line was a little bit crooked, so I just fixed it here. Alright, so we got the top of Thor's hammer, and now what we need to do is we need to create like the handle or the rod that's going to be going back towards the vanishing point. So in order to do this, we need to find, like, well, first of all, the handle is going to be coming out of the center of the hammer. So I'm going to find the center of this piece right here. Remember, X marks the spot. Okay, so that's going to be like the center here. And if you want, you can go ahead and start by doing that little rounded shape. You know, do the circle, because that's where the you know, your handle's coming through. And then here you go, you're going to take your ruler, connect it to the vanishing point, and then you're going to just kiss the edge of that circle. Now, the form is going to block this line until you hit here, right? You're going to hit here, and then you're going to draw your vanishing line, okay? And so do the same thing down here. Vanishing point to just the edge. Don't need to draw a line until you get to about here. About like that. Now, you could draw a circle for the end here, or you just can kind of mimic this rounded shape here to kind of finish off your hammer. Right? So finishing up this circle here, and then I can go ahead and clean up just the last few lines here. And I know I've from looking at Thor's hammer, I've seen like the edges aren't, or the corners aren't like sharp like this. They're kind of rounded. So if you want to go and kind of round all of your corners so they're not quite so sharp. Like that. And then I think, doesn't he have, like he has it's not a rope, but like a strap. Go ahead and draw that. And then rope kind of has all right. So something like that. So there's Thor's hammer. Okay. You want to go ahead and add a little bit of shading in here, like a little bit of shadow. You can. All right. Now I can work on this all day here, just kind of playing around, adding some value in. You know, maybe this side's going to be a little bit darker because this is the opposite side of the light source, and I know that because my shadow is coming. It's like coming in from this direction. If I cast my shadow over here, this side is definitely going to be darker. The top side is going to be a little lighter. This side might be a hair, like in between. Add a little bit of value here. All right, so very quickly you can see creating something real big, real dynamic using 1-point perspective just by stacking 2 simple forms. So what I want you guys to do, go ahead and complete this, and then when you're finished with this, you can go ahead and in some of your empty space create one more additional combined object. So maybe you could always try doing Thor's hammer from like the top view, you know, and so instead of having the rods down, you do a vertical cylinder. You could do something like that. You could also, you know, create kind of like a grain silo. So we took, you know, those cylinders yesterday. If you take a cylinder and stack a cone on top of it, it would kind of look like a grain silo. So go ahead and play around with those ideas, and then I will check in with you soon. See you guys.